to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
You had on your Instagram a few weeks ago the movie Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah.
And I watched it last night.
Oh, what'd you
And then
think?
I watched the first half again because my wife was out. I loved it.
Yeah,
that
it's
documentary
great, huh?
is worth seeing. I got it on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Rented it.
Yeah.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is
It's awesome on all levels. Yeah.
It is amazing
Yeah.
what the mushroom is capable of.
I know.
And the, what do you call it? The underneath.
Well, just the whole network.
What's that called? My MYC.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Mitochondria.
Right.
Here it is. Mycelium.
There you go. I'm afraid I'll say like a STD or something by accident.
Yeah. Mycelium. But I mean, that is, first of all, I didn't know there was that many variants of mushrooms. But
did they say thousands or millions or something?
It's
at least
I don't
thousands.
know. It's at least thousands.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. And this mycelium. So I had known, because I read Michael Pollan's book, beginning of this year, How to Change Your Mind. And he talks in there about, is it Paul Stamets, who's like the expert here? This mycelium, which is like a root-like thread that goes out from, this fungi of any kind, but it's like the roots for mushrooms. Mm-hmm. It connects trees. Mm-hmm. And tree A can pass nutrients to tree B, who's, yards, or I don't know about miles, but certainly yards away, like not even that close, because it's like the internet of the forest. It's amazing.
And just so much intelligence.
Yeah.
And survival. And it's just fascinating. And just fascinating to me about how the earth provides.
Exactly.
And how there's so much more to it than meets the eye. Mm-hmm. And just the intelligence, like the divine creation of it all is just really astounding.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. Stamets has this on maybe at least one of his TED Talks, which people can check out on YouTube, but they did a test where they had 4 piles of oil-soaked trash, and they put like some chemicals on the 3 other piles, and then on the one pile they put either they dusted it with mushroom spores, or they somehow planted mushroom. It was spores, and then they covered each of the 4 piles of oil-soaked trash, toxic waste, really. Mm-hmm. And after, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, they uncovered them, and the 3 other piles that they had put like man's version of trying to clean this stuff up, like chemicals and stuff that's supposed to clean up toxic waste. They were it was the same, like it was piles of toxic waste still, like just black rubbish that you wouldn't want to touch.
Another variety. Yeah.
Exactly. But the one that had mushroom spores, the spores turns into mushrooms, that goes into the mycelium, and that pulls in the toxic waste from all this oil that was soaked into the pile. And then that turns into like, it goes down the root system, and then bugs come in there somehow, and then birds come to eat the bugs. And basically mushrooms turn this pile of toxic waste into an oasis of life. Amazing.
Yeah. And, like I find a spiritual connection to that.
Yeah.
I do.
Interesting.
I mean, to me, like you can find spirituality within that, in the sense that you can recognize and appreciate how there is purpose in all of life's beings, that there is intention, that there's protection, that there's kindness and love and goodness and abundance, and service in what is naturally around us.
Yes.
And however, so like that hits me on a spiritual level, and to give thanks to that.
Yeah.
And,
No, I get it. I can see
it's
why.
a beautiful, connection when
Yep.
we can really recognize that, give thanks to it.
Yes.
And really recognize the abundance that is around us that we are provided for.
Yeah. Well, Stamets says, I think it's in that documentary, that mushrooms are the oldest known organism, and it's possible that they're up to like 1.3 billion years that they have, that the earliest known fungi growth was like 1.3 billion years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes the point that it's very possible like that humans have evolved from fungi. And I don't know exactly what I think about that. I believe in a creator God, and a lot of my friends, I have some friends that would believe the same, and they would believe in like a young earth version. So I'm open to there being a divine or a God who has created, but I mean, there's quote unquote evolutionary principles still at work today, like a tree. Those trees grow. You know what I mean? Like, what's that, evolution? I mean, basically, it's the growth of things. And the Bible talks about, what does it say in Genesis? Something about we're made from dust, right? And last night, I'm like thinking, well, I always took that as like dust from dirt, but I don't know.
Stardust.
Is it stardust, or is it mushroom dust? Because spores are apparently like our air is filled with mushroom spores. I had
Maybe
no
it's
idea.
all of the above. Maybe it's all the above.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have? I don't know if you're comfortable talking about it on the podcast, but do you? So one of the uses, of course, with mushrooms is psychedelics, and which Pollan talks about in that book. And it's amazing that. Well, first of all, it's a shame that we just shut all that down in the 60s and 70s, because there was some real progress being made with people using psychedelics, and certainly psilocybin from these mushrooms for legitimate health reasons. And then that all got shut down. And now in recent years, I feel like there's really, like, it's hitting a critical mass at this point.
Microdosing and the, 60 Minutes did an episode on it not too long ago.
Yeah, I saw that. So now it's coming back, and like Johns Hopkins is doing these tests, and it's like they're doing tests currently with MDMA, and it's really helping with depression, anxiety, addictions, those types of things. People with terminal cancer, these things are really helping. And then of course there's the more recreational use too. So what are your experiences or thoughts around all of that as it relates to mushrooms?
I think it's worth exploring. I think that what has been pounded down people's throats and in their bodies and in pill forms and all that, so toxic. I mean, so toxic within the pharmaceuticals. And I can't speak very intelligently to this. However, the only time I guess was prescribed a quote narcotic is when I had a knee surgery. I tore my ACL and meniscus, and whatever pain pill that they gave me. I mean, look, I don't even know what it was. I just like so blindly just accepted what the doctor gave to me. I felt so ill from it.
Really?
I mean, just so ill. So I guess I'm talking about like on the pain relief, but in terms of like emotional help and health and stuff like that, that are, naturally derived. Yeah, sure. I think it's worth exploring because I can't understand how you could say that's worse than
yeah.
I mean,
it made me medication.
Feel so ill from taking just that, whatever it was, pain thing that I took. And it wasn't even like the doctor even ever said to me, oh, hey, by the way, you may have these types of side effects, which you may feel depression or X, Y, Z. Or even asked me, do you have a history of addiction? To just heads up, these pills can be highly addictive. I mean, it was just given, no questions asked, nothing, and nothing to really prepare me for any side effects that I may experience. And that was just my tiny little experience with it.
Yep.
And I knew after 3 or 5 days of taking it, I was like, ugh, dumping those, that's gross. I feel so toxic from taking that. So that was my little experience. I can only imagine, what others go through.
It plays out.
It was so revolting to me. It really was.
Well, the makers of Oxycontin,
right.
Oxytocin, Oxycontin, whatever the parent company was there.
Yeah.
This was, I don't know, I can't remember exactly when this was. This is in the 90s or maybe more recent, I'm not sure. But swore under oath to the FDA that it was non-addictive. I mean, you know how good of a scientist you have to be to figure out that Oxycontin is going to be addictive? Not even very good. Like, that's very easy to tell. And the drug makers know. Well, they swore under oath to the FDA that it's not going to be addictive. The FDA approves it. Next thing you know, we have people all over this country hooked on these opioids. I mean, it's just devastating. It's life-ending for a lot of people. It's awful.
Yeah. But I'm all for, marijuana, for if it to use it if it's helpful and for treatments. I'm all for that. I mean, I personally think alcohol is can be pretty scary, and but to me more so than marijuana.
I totally agree.
So I don't drink alcohol.
Oh, really? Haven't for a while?
No, haven't for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, alcoholism runs in my family. And
does it really?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Did you at one point, though?
I did,
okay.
yeah.
Did you struggle with it?
Not so much like struggle, but definitely experienced how it just it impacted me differently than it did with my friends. I didn't really know. There was no like yellow light.
Okay.
It was just like green light.
Really? But didn't you feel I basically have stopped drinking too. I've not struggled with alcoholism, but I don't feel good when I drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But I will if we're out to dinner and people are having drinks, I'll totally have drinks. But I don't feel good. I'll get to sleep just fine, but then I'll wake up like literally without fail. If I have a glass or two of whiskey tonight, let's say, I will wake up at between 1 and 2 a.m. at some point throughout the night. I'll wake up, think someone's in the house. Like, this is very common. I mean, there's like almost no night where if I drink alcohol, I won't wake up throughout the night. So it'll help get to sleep, but then I'll wake up during the night and I just don't feel good.
Yeah.
And then certainly if you go out drinking or drink too much, you feel like crap the next morning.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just not worth it.
Oh, worst feeling
like, how do
ever. Like a hangover. I mean, that is just
it's so
awful,
bad. Yeah.
awful.
Like, so I don't, the increased drinking with COVID, first of all, I mean, I guess on one hand, I sort of get it. And on the other hand, I'm just like, man, why would you want to feel that bad every day? You know what I mean? Like,
just escapism,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Just escapism.
But then if escape is, I don't know. Well, the marijuana thing,
idle time isn't good for anybody.
Yeah.
Idle time isn't good for anybody.
Yeah.
So, and it's alcohol is considered a depressant as well. Of course, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with alcohol. My husband loves to have a glass of wine every day. He loves his wine and beers and stuff like that.
Yeah. We have talked about drug laws on this podcast in the past, and I think it's ludicrous that marijuana is a class 1 drug. For us to view marijuana as the same category as we view cocaine or
is that so? I don't even know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's class 1. It's the same category as cocaine. And what's the
But they can pass out all those toxic pills to people, which like put you out of your mind and all that too.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's fine. Those toxic pills are not
sense.
only just fine, but they're subsidized by the government. It's crazy.
Yeah. When I was in Colorado, well, all right, I'll admit to this. I bought some legal marijuana when I was in Aspen this summer.
Okay. Yep.
That was kind of fun. That was like my first time doing that.
Oh,
and
really?
I felt, there was like a little nervousness. Like I was like, am I being naughty or?
Yeah, exactly. But that's funny.
But yeah, I bought some gummies.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's been legal out there for some time.
They were pretty mellow though.
Really?
Yeah, they were mellow. Yeah.
Now, Did you bring
It
it
was
back?
nice.
Did you bring it back on the plane with you?
Well, I did. I was a little nervous about that too, but I didn't want to like throw out a good.
No.
So I like hid it in a sock, in another sock, like in a
really?
furry boot.
I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I think.
And I was like, God help me, please don't let me get arrested for bringing back gummies.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't think it's an issue. And then more recently, Nashville, the prosecutor for Nashville said that they're not going to prosecute people with small amounts of marijuana possession. So it's
good. I think that's a waste of time because, frankly,
I totally agree.
How many people would be guilty of that? There's so many people that smoke pot. I had
so
no
many.
idea. Just in like suburban America.
Yeah,
and it's not like people are stoners or anything like an extreme or what. But it's like instead of having a beer, maybe they'll have a little something.
Yeah,
else.
I think it's a lot better for you than having alcohol.
Yeah.
I think that there's, we don't need to talk about the getting into the drug laws too much, but the best argument for drug legalization is alcohol. The fact that alcohol is legal in this country and we haven't already killed ourselves or drove our cars off of cliffs is the best argument for the legalization of drugs. I think it's
Do you think Nashville or Tennessee, I guess, will eventually join Colorado, California?
I do. Yeah. I think eventually. I don't know how soon because I don't know what's involved with that. I don't know the loops.
But isn't this more like a religious thing too, though? I mean, is that where a lot of backlash is coming from? I'm looking at you to like give me the answer to that.
I'm not sure. I haven't thought about that, honestly. I haven't looked at it from that angle. I could see the argument for that because, first of all, alcohol and tobacco is more common in like dominator.
Right, and that cigarettes can be legal. Right, right.
Cigarettes are the big. I mean, tobacco. I mean, 500,000 people die in America alone from tobacco. So COVID's at about 200,000 in this country. More than that have died from tobacco. Tobacco is totally legal. No one's talking about that. You know how many people have died from marijuana ever? 0. No one's ever died from marijuana. So the fact that tobacco is legal, it just means that people have lobbied and created the laws. So, it could be that alcohol and tobacco, those are common in more dominator societies, and then more, I guess, Eastern or ancient societies people have been smoking cannabis for thousands of years. So it could be that as a Western society, we're scared of that, and so we have laws against it. I really don't know, but yeah, I think at some point marijuana will be legal in every state in America. I just don't know when. So.
Well, I've heard that's why so many of the quote hemp stores have been opening around, is they're really jockeying and preparing for when marijuana will become legal.
Interesting. One thing I didn't know until recently is you can get high off of hemp. So the thing that's illegal, there's like a 3-letter, I forget what it was, like LD9 or something, and in the THC that make you high. And then, of course, CBD doesn't have that, so you don't get high off of CBD, apparently. And then hemp, if it has like what's illegal is I'm butchering this, so it's not LD9, but it's something like that. Within THC, it gets you high. With hemp, though, there's like an LD8 or something. It does the exact same thing, and it's legal right now in Tennessee.
Oh.
So you can get high off of hemp.
Well, hello.
So
I have a house guest coming to my home tomorrow, and she is incredibly well read on the history of cannabis.
Oh, interesting.
And all of that. Yeah, she and her husband started the first oral history of cannabis, because they said that an oral history of cannabis had never been documented, and that there were people in their 90s and stuff who were like the original farmers in California and stuff like that who were starting to die. Mm-hmm. And they started recording and documenting them so that there could be an oral history of it. And from my understanding, I would be embarrassed if I got this wrong, but I think she had said that the University of Berkeley had ended up taking over the project because it just started becoming too big, too ambitious a project for the two of them to do. But anyway, she'd be a great guest. And,
Yeah. Does she live in town?
No, she lives in Minnesota.
Oh, really? Okay. So I'd love to have someone
anyway,
like that on.
Yeah, she has just tons of, and she's like real geeky that way.
Yeah.
Like she's like super smart.
Okay.
Geeky.
Sounds like an interesting house
Yeah.
guest. You're going to have a good time, I'm sure.
Yeah.